Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to take a moment and record Prayerbook Hebrew Lesson 1 for everyone so that we could have a reference for those who were not able to make it, as I know that we have a lot of stuff happening. So we are using, again, the book we're using is Prayerbook Hebrew the Easy Way. It touches on the grammar that we need to know while also getting us into how to read our prayers and read our Torah. And so we are going to be actually pulling out excerpts from the Torah for everyone in this group as we have Jews and Christians in this group, which is a wonderful thing. And but we all have in common the Old Testament. So we're pulling that through. Now, I am I got to change what I'm sharing on my screen. I apologize. Stop sharing. So if you have the book, that makes life easier. If you don't have the book, okay, then that's okay. But it just makes it a little bit, I have to figure out how to share the screen in a better way. We had technical difficulties last night. I am using this website. And I've sent the link out. It's by Rabbi Jana Di Vendetti. She does a terrific job teaching Hebrew using this text and curriculum. And she has put all these materials together for her group. I did find one of her lessons on YouTube. I haven't found all of them. So in the meantime, I'm going to record a few of the lessons, just the stuff that we went over for those who missed. So I encourage you to use her website, as it's a terrific. I couldn't have done a better job putting stuff together. So while we're here, I just want to make sure that you're seeing what I'm seeing, or that I'm seeing what you're seeing. Okay. We have okay, we have a bunch of stuff happening on the screen. So one thing that we have is one thing we have here that I think is awesome is that she has a list of the actual vocabulary. Every week we'll learn 10 new words in Hebrew. This is the first weeks of words. As we get going, we're going to learn that Hebrew words are usually masculine or feminine. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but in the meantime, every week we're going to learn 10 words. So by the time you're done with the 8 weeks, you have learned more than 80 words, because to finish this course in 8 weeks, you have to do multiple chapters. Whether we finish it in 8 weeks is all entirely up to the group. And we may want to do 8 weeks and then do a break and finish out. We'll just have to see where you go. Like I said, my rule is as long as I have students and I have time, I teach. So it's good for you, but it's also great for me. So our lesson this week, here's our Prayerbook Hebrew. Here is our actual words are right here. You can click on this and download it as I think it comes as a PDF. But we have Av, which is father, one, which is Echad, I, which is Ani, you, which is Ata, he, which is who, this is Zay, Israel, of course, is Yisrael, king or ruler is Melech, Moshe is Moshe, and nation or people is Am. A couple quick things about the nation or people. You will have to decide when we are doing translation, and we start translating right away today with what we're calling noun sentences. Whether you feel it's appropriate to use nation and people. This will happen a lot. Who, the same thing with who. Do we mean a he or an it? Okay. So that is your one, that's one page that says every week what your words are. Okay. Because people learn differently. And also, we know when I was a psychologist, we learned from the neuropsychological studies that when you get your brain going with other modes, whether it is, in fact, with kids, if you can get your brain and your hand going and sometimes even your feet going at the same time, you can learn much faster. You can actually get the material because it engages. We don't know how all this works yet exactly, or maybe there's some cutting edge study that has explained it that I'm not aware of, but you just need more things than one. Some of you will have no problem. Some of you are wonderful with languages and you just need to see it once or twice and you have it. So we have two different things here. We have a flashcard here that Dr. Bendetti, Rabbi Dr. Bendetti has put together. And these flashcards, again, if you click on them, they will come up. I'm going to try to see if you can see that, though. I've noticed, no, you can't see it on the screen. It's not coming up right. So, but you click on it, it's a document. I believe you cut and paste, you print it out, you put the front to back together, or if you can do it on a place that does duplex printing, it will come out exactly right. And here's flashcards. So you've got these flashcards, small little cards you can take with you if you are a flashcard learner. I know I worked with someone who was in the military. He printed out his flashcards and he has a cube. And so he was able to pin his 10 flashcards up on his board, on his desk. And then when he knew them, he could take them off and add a new one. And that's great. The other thing is there is this solid line group right here. And I'll try to see if I can. It is, the open line group. And the reason why that's really important is because some of you may want to take a marker and color these in. So some people learn and color coding is super important to them. And so here's the ability to color code. She does have a Kahoot challenge. So if that's something that you're interested in, I have not tried it to see if it worked. So that is something you can try. So here is the main parts. And then when you click on right up here, the lesson 1 easy prayer book, this is where you can open up a file that has your prayer book in it. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to open that file. So I have to stop sharing and then reshare so I can get into that book. It's the only thing that I haven't learned how to do better on Google than I could on Google, which is switching documents to share. So, okay, now you should be able to see the book. Verify what you can see. Yep. Okay, let me try to make it bigger. Okay, so my hope would be that when you get this book, that you actually print it out. Only just because it is really difficult for me to screen share this in a way that everybody can see it. I noticed last night we had a lot of problems that people just could not, they could only see half the screen. And so it was really difficult. So like this chapter is only 3 pages. Most of them are not a lot. So I just wanted to encourage you that if you didn't have the book, that you have these pages ready. Okay. I'm going to say a quick thing about the Hebrew name. We have a Jewish Christian mixed group, which is wonderful, and I'm really blessed to have that happen. And some people are strict about the name of God. And I just want to tell you that because we were in an educational setting, I am not that way. So a lot of people struggle with how to call God. And I know if we were in the Orthodox setting and we had Orthodox people learning, which we don't at this time, this would be more of an issue. So I just wanted to let you know that this book, hopefully you can see this down here, this book actually has a few names of God, and it is, sorry, my book doesn't, uh, my computer screen does not make this easy. It uses what I call the Yah, which is the double yod with the Shavah and the Kamats underneath it. So that's Adonai, as well as we have El, we have Elohim, we have Adonai, and then we have Shaddai. So we have all those words that we will, in this book, all of them mean or are a name for God. We'll get into different um, translations and things later. But just so you know, some people read it as Hashem, especially when not praying. They'll say Hashem. Adoshem is another one, is half Adonai, half Hashem. So there's a whole bunch of different things. So I just want to let you know those are all the names for God. We also have the Yod He, Vav He in our other materials, but we do not have that here. Okay. So for chapter 1, we are working on noun sentences. So every language has its own way of making things work. Some of you who are familiar with Spanish may find the way that Hebrew operates very similar. And those of you who have other languages might find this is foreign. But we're going to start with the basic sentence that everyone learns how to read, and that is a noun sentence. Go back to when you're 3. This is the first type of sentence that you are learning. Now, the important thing to know is we are going to be working on the English meanings of individual Hebrew words. That's the one thing we're going to work on. That's why we have our 10 vocabulary, and we talk about the meanings of words. So the English meanings of the individual words themselves. And just very quickly, these individual words are not just words, they're kind of what I call word families. So as you see, as you will see on the vocabulary list in this book, like we showed when we reviewed the list on the website, that there's a couple words that have multiple meanings. And of course, we will have families of meanings that just like in English, when you open the dictionary, the first primary meaning may be this, and there may be a secondary, a third, a tertiary, quaternary. It may go down until you get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different meanings. So there are different meanings for words, the same. The second thing that we are going to learn is that we are going to learn how the Hebrew words are arranged to make a proper Hebrew sentence. So the way a thought is expressed in Hebrew is different than in English. And like I said, I know from talking to our Spanish speakers that it's very similar to how they've learned Spanish. So they have a leg up, I think, in a couple ways. When you begin this book, you should already be able to read simple Hebrew words. And everybody in this class can, at this point, read simple Hebrew words. You can't read the Hebrew words. I say hang in there, but we will have to work on that a little bit because it just makes it more difficult. But if you're struggling, one of the things that's important to do is remember that we're starting with the simple and going to the complex. So if you keep working through the words as we go, you will find the words get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. So I think that everybody in this class is capable of doing this now. Some are at a higher level and some are at a beginning level, but we're all in this. And there's all a portion of this that we need to learn. Just remember, people have different strengths than others. So sometimes what you find easy is not what others find easy. Okay, I just want to double check that everyone can see what we're doing. Okay, now we are going to the next set. Okay, so on the left here, on the page on the left, you see our vocabulary. We went over it. I think I can kind of make it a little bit bigger. So we have Av, Echad, Ani, Ata, Hu, Ze, Yisrael, Melech, Moshe, and Am. So 10 new vocabulary words, and you need to learn these words. Okay, now the other thing is, when you learn these words, you will be adjacently learning some other words as well. So, but these are the 10. Every chapter has 10. I think is there technically 18 chapters? Can't remember. And so you will have quite a few words that you have learned by the time you're done. There's also, if you have the book, there's a glossary in the back of the book where you can look up all the words as well. Okay, so let's talk about noun sentences. Noun sentences. Okay. The simplest type of sentence in Hebrew, the simplest type of sentence in almost every language is the noun sentence. Okay. It's this is starting at the noun sentence here is a very good example, sorry, about how sentences work. Okay. So for instance, I'm sorry, all my screen is covered by Zoom stuff. I apologize. So here's a couple noun sentences. So you are king, I am father, Moses is king. Okay. So those are three examples of a noun sentence. But let's go to the next page. Okay. Page just right over here. See if I can move it over a little. There we go. Okay. So if we're going over to this page here, I think this is page 3. Okay. Each of our sentences were 3 or 4 words long. But in Hebrew, we only see 2 words, okay? We read from right to left, remember, just a reminder, but we have Ata Melech, we have Ani Av, and we have Moshe Melech. Okay, so what we would say in English, you are a king. In Hebrew, it's Ata Melech, which if we look over at our vocabulary words on this side, Ata is, let's go back to this side. Ata over here, if we look it up, is you, okay? And Melech, if we look it up over here, is king. So when we say Atahu, we are saying you king, okay? So in Hebrew, there are no little I've just forgot the name. There's no little articles. So you're not going to have an is, an am, an are, an or an on. Those are things that you have to put in to make the sentence go from Hebrew to English. So you king. Okay, well, what could that be? You are a king. Just that was one of them. You are a king. We have to be careful with the, because if this was Hamelech, we could say you are the king, okay? But it's just you are a king because we're not saying you're a specific king. So we have to be a little bit careful with the, but you king comes out to you are a king. Or we could say you are king. So, but that is more to later on, we're going to talk about how we're defining possessives and stuff, like people in place, whether you're your king, my king, this king, his king, everyone's king, just a plain king. So we'll deal with that later. But right now, Ata Melech is you king, and it translates into you are a king. Ani Av is I father. Okay, what? In English, that sounds weird. I father. Well, what do I mean? I father. I am a father. Because we haven't learned the grammar yet to make the sentence anything else. So you can't say I am the father because we don't know that yet. So it's I father. And then the last one is Moshe Melech. So if we were to do it and read it in Hebrew, it'd be Moshe Melech would be Moses king. So then what we have to do is we have to say Moses is a king. Okay. And we've added, because am doesn't work, Moses am king, Moses are king, maybe, but it'd be a little bit different. Okay, you will notice that the word a Doesn't appear again. A and, are, am, or is. Okay. So when we go down a little bit farther, we have ata av. You are a father. We had to add the ra, but we have you and av. So when you go to translate these sentences, there is some exercises. If you are going to do the exercises, you would write down ani melech. So that would be, you would say, I king. And then you just have to go back and then fill in what you need to translate. So I king. Okay, what? I am a king. Okay. And then we have Yisrael Am. And this is again where we have to decide, does Am mean people or Am mean nation? So you could say Israel Am. You could say both. Israel is a people or Israel is a nation. And they both would be correct. Okay. And then we have Ze Moshe at the very last one, which is this is Moses. And that would be you're adding the is. So Zay, this Moses, this Moses. Okay, this is Moses. This a Moses wouldn't work. This am Moses wouldn't work. So you kind of just can test it out if you're not sure. But normally by now, adults have a really good grasp of what needs to be put in a noun sentence. So let's move on. Okay, so go to the last one. There we go. Okay, scoop out again. Okay, now we have a page of exercises, okay? And what you do with the exercises, I recommend two things in this book, depending on how you want to use this book. This is the first week, and the first week is not so bad. Some of the subsequent weeks, the exercises, like when I did this one, when I wrote this one out, I wrote all the exercises out like you would to see how long they would take, how much paper. So I have been doing the exercises a week before you try to anticipate any issues that might occur. So when you do this, you can jam the answers in the book. You can absolutely write everything in the book. I would use a pencil, but you can write everything in the book. So Ani Moshe would be I Moses. And then on the side, you could write I am Moses. In English, you can absolutely do that. Okay. It gets a little bit more difficult when you're trying to write in Hebrew. You are father. That would be ata av. So it is a smaller sentence. But a lot of us, when we're still not great with our beginning Hebrew, we find that our sentences are our letters are larger, just like a little kid who uses the big pencil. We're big pencil writers at this stage, and unless you've been practicing, then maybe you have it down. Okay, so you can absolutely write everything down in your book if you want to. I tried both ways to see what would be better. Once we get into higher lessons, even next week in lesson 2, I don't know how you can jam it in and still read it later. So some of you don't may choose or not choose to do the lessons other than in your head. And in that case, it won't matter to you. So the fill in the blanks obviously works well. So we have Ani blank. So we can say blank. We could choose a bunch of things. We could choose I am a father. I am a king. I am Moses. I am he even. So we can choose a whole bunch of different things. We would pick what we want to choose to fill in the blank. And then the paper I sent you, see how many chapter 1 vocabulary words are in your prayer book. So the Shema prayer is so little. I actually pulled out 2 passages from the Torah, from Exodus. We're getting into that parts of Exodus. You know, we're talking about the Passover story and people getting ready to talk to Pharaoh and leave Egypt. And so that those passages, you will find some of our words. But they have the Shema here to illustrate noun sentences. So when you get to number 4, you're actually going to go to the handout that I gave you, not the Shema over here. Okay, I hope that's clear. If it isn't, please reach out. The Shema. So let's talk about the Shema, the last page of this besides the homework. Okay, the Shema. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. So the Shema is the most important prayer. I know I've told a lot of you the story about how after the Holocaust, they were trying to regroup all the children that were in orphanages that were Jewish. And one of the ways that the priests, or not the priests or whoever was rabbis and priests were looking for him, is they would go through the halls and they would sing Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And they would see who would start to join in or who would repeat it, because that's a prayer that parents, not as much today, believe me, because I teach children as well. But parents of old used to do every night with their children, sometimes every morning. So, but it's also a good example of Hebrew noun sentences. So we have Shema Israel, which Shema is here. And this is where you get a couple extra vocabulary words, and that when it has a prayer explain something, it will define it for you. So we don't know all the words. We only know 4 of the words in here, but it defines what we don't know. So here is Shema. So here, Israel. So here's our first basically noun phrase or noun sentence. Shema Israel. So here, Israel. Okay. When you translate it, poetically, you can translate it as "Hear, O Israel." So that little O is a poetic article in there, like an A or an and. So "Hear, O Israel," but "Hear, Israel" works too. So we get the full meaning here. Listen. Another way to say Shema is listen. A lot of kids, if you're a Hebrew parent and you're saying Shema, Shema, you're telling your kids, listen, listen. And boy, don't be that kid that's mom said it 3 times, because that means mom's not happy. So, or Ima, we'll learn that word next week, is not happy when she has to repeat the word Shema 3 times. So Shema, okay. And then we have Israel. So hear, Israel. So hear, O Israel, or hear, Israel is our first noun sentence. Then we have a comma. Then we have Adonai Eloheinu. So we have Adonai, because that's our Yah version of God. So we say Adonai Eloheinu. So, okay, we have Adonai, our Lord, our God, right? So if we were going to make that sentence, we would translate it into the Lord is our God, or the Lord our God, or the Lord is God. But the reason why we have this R possessive here is because we're going to talk about different things like grammar and root ending. And we're going to learn how at the end of the word that we have changes. And some of those changes are, he said, she said, we said, they said, you said, or someone is your God, his God, her God, their God, our God, everyone's God everywhere. There's different ways to say that. And Eloheinu is our God. We know El is God. And then we have Hey, and we'll talk about that later. And then Nu, which is the ending. So we have Eloheinu. So we have Adonai Eloheinu. So that is transferred to, instead of just saying Lord our God, we would say, if we were trying to make a noun sentence, we'd say the Lord is our God. And then we have Adonai Echad for the last noun sentence. So Adonai Echad, we know we have God, right? Or Adonai. And Echad, if we go back to our words, Echad means one. So we have God, one. Okay, so or one God, if you want to look at that way. But it's awkward in English. It's not poetic. And so we have to go, how are we going to get to the God is one, or one God? Well, the Lord is one. That's how they translate it in that prayer book. The Lord is one. And the Shema is actually in the Torah. So hopefully maybe we'll be able to pull some out so you can actually see it in the Torah. So Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. We're talking about three noun phrases put together to make a complex noun sentence or a compound noun sentence. So that is the book. What I need to do is I need to get you to our lesson. Over to person. Hold on. I don't think you want to learn Jewish ethics today. That's my class for tonight. Okay, so on the screen, thank you for your patience. On the screen, you should see the homework that I worked on with you. I'm hoping that you can see it well. It is small, so I am not going to do too much with it. Let's see if this makes it any bigger. Okay, it makes it a little bit bigger. Okay. So I apologize. I just, for some reason, I'm struggling with documents again. It just takes a while, I guess, for me to get it. Here's the lesson. I've made it. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I don't know if that'll work. Let's see if that'll work. Okay. So on one side, I actually have a section for, I have 3 lines from the Torah or 3 lines from the Hebrew Bible, or, I mean, this is Torah, but there's a whole bunch of different names for this section, and we can talk about those another time. On the left, for your ease, I actually have the actual vocabulary list from this week. So thank you to Rabbi Janine again. And so what I need you to do, and the directions are here. Using the excerpt, sorry. I noticed a typo. These excerpts from Exodus, circle the chapter 1 words in the above passage using a colored highlighter. Highlight the words that you found in the weekly glossary, which is this vocabulary list on the left, and write the total number of times they appear in the chart as well. So for instance, if we had the word Viomer, which is the first word here, if we had the first word here and it was here, in here, we would circle it and then we'd say 1 and we'd write the number 1. I can't write on this. If you would like an answer sheet then what I recommend is that you let me know, and I'm planning on printing. In fact, I printed one out. I just haven't done it myself, and that I can scan the answer sheet and send it to you. So these are real chapters. So you're not going to find every word. You might find a word once or twice, but I want you to do it to the first part, lesson 1 words to the first part using, say, orange, and then go down to here where the next excerpt is and see if you can find it using the same orange. Then week 2, we've got words for next week, and those are going to be our feminine words, and you're going to use maybe green. And then so you go up here and see if there's any in green, and go down here and see if there's any in green. So you get 2 chances to find some of the words, and you may end up that you don't find any of the words. So the other thing is that notice that there are some words that look like they could be vocabulary words, but are just a bit different. It would be nice if you underline those or note those, and we can talk about those. Maybe they are very much related. Remember, I said we have some word families. We haven't talked about grammar, all that stuff. Also, are there any words not on the list, so meaning our grammar list right here, that sound really close? There might be a few words that are very close to what we have. And you're like, I think this is the word, but there's something in front or something at the end, or this is in the middle. And note those, and we can talk about those, okay? And because we're again reminding ourselves that Hebrew words are fragments. It's just not the meaning of the word. The meaning of the word is the root. And then we have prefixes and we have infixes. And so that's why we're able to get so much more meaning into a Hebrew word. I don't know if that's the case with Spanish. We'll find out next week. Then we are able to in an English word because everything is put into the word. We do have article, but the definite article, we'll talk about that later, doesn't do the same thing as our articles do, or in that case. So here is your homework. Also in class, what we are going to start to do, because we have people who are at a higher level, we have one person in our class right now that probably reads Hebrew better than I do. So, but it's a refresher for them, just like it is for, it's great for me because I have a hard time. We have some people who have a hard time learning grammar. That's me. We have a person in our class, if I tell her a grammar rule, you'll hear me in this class say, hey, what about that rule? And she'll remember it, or she'll be like, oh, I kind of know where to look that up. She's just great at that. That's her skill. We have other people who have some really great pronunciation for whatever languages they've learned. It just works really well with Hebrew. And so they're able to pronunciate words and very, very well. So everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. And I have to tell you, even in rabbinical school, everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. And as an example, I have a rabbi who I attend so that I have a personal ability to worship without being a rabbi at my community. And this rabbi, she is wonderful at the Torah. And you would never even know that she could barely read when she started. It was hard for her. It took her forever. And I found that out because I was telling her, man, it takes me so long to learn all this. And, you know, I just have to work over and over and over again to be able to read it from here and transfer it to the Torah. And she explained that it was that way too. So some people get it right away. Some people read something once and they know it and they remember it forever. So your strength might be something that someone else does, but someone else has a good strength. And some of us may be weak in a lot of areas, but we're persistent and we keep at it. So we have all those personalities in our class. That's why we are blessed to have such a wonderful class. So anyway. So we're going to read our Torah portions or read our letters. And first, you're just going to look at them to match. You're just matching. You're getting used to it. The other comment that I need to make is this is Torah semi-stam. This is semi-stam. This is the default print for writing in the Torah. So I want to let you know that it takes a little bit to get used to. And eventually we will be able to actually read some stuff right from the Torah. So in order to do that, I might as well throw you in and get used to it. That means that some of the letters are very, very different. In fact, one of the ones that I can say is, I just got to find one to show you, is right here. Okay. My cursor is there. I hope you can see it. It is shalach, and shalach, that last is a het. The het looks like two noons giving each other a high five. So, or London Bridge, whatever you want to, whatever you feel like to you, it looks like. So they are, there's some different, it looks a little different. And you know, the book uses a different one too. So as you get better, the typeface won't, it might throw you for a loop for a second, but the typeface won't matter as much. Okay. I gotta stop doing that. Okay. As we get going, and on the first lesson, some people were able to read the Torah portion. We all take a turn. And everybody was able to read some pieces of it. Everybody was able to do it. So once you get the basics, reading is now a matter of practice and a matter of learning. So, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe bo el Paro, ki ani hekbadati et levo ve'et lev avodav lema'an shiti ototai ela bekirbo. So that was the first line. And I read that because if you want to try to see if you can read any of those words, there you go. So one more time, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe bo el Paro ki ani hikbadati et lebo ve'et lev avodav lema'an sheti oto tai ela bekirbo. And that's the first line again. Okay. Then again, we have you can work ahead on lesson 2 if you want to, it doesn't matter. But here we go. So that is the homework. The only way you can do the homework is to print it out, to do it and put it back, unless you have a program that's better than mine, or you save it as a PDF and you want to do it. This is the only way I could get it to work. I couldn't get it to work so that you could highlight over the top of it. I just wasn't able to. Okay. Okay, I have stopped sharing, and pretty soon I'm gonna end the recording. So that is session 1, and that is chapter 1. So if you missed chapter 1 class, we now kind of went through what we talked about. Again, I have my method is to print out the pages, and I'm actually hole punching them so I can write with my notes over the top. And then again, let me show you. It's hard to see because it's light, but you can tell this is a lined sheet. And this is all my translations for lesson 1. They're all done. Okay. And then I have the homework sheet that will go after that. So I will have the first part of my little folder or booklet, a 3-ring binder, whatever. And then now we're moving into next week, we're going to move into feminine nouns. But as we get going, the chapters and the homework gets easier or gets longer. It doesn't get hard that fast, but I just want to let you know, for chapter 2, I have filled 1 page. I have nearly filled the 2nd page, and I'm still not done with the homework. So the homework, it's not that much harder, but it's more. They're just trying to get you to really work with it over and over and over again. Let's see, what else I want to tell you? Okay. There are 21 chapters. So we will have vocabulary for 21 chapters. And so you will learn 210 words. The basic Hebrew vocabulary consists of, I've heard anywhere say 300 is really, or 500. So, but once you know the first 500 words, you know a lot, like you know a lot. And you'll be able to do a lot of translating. So once you get to the most used 500 words, and I have another document I'll give to you that has the most used words by frequency. So the first 500, and then it goes up to 1,000 or 1,500. I can't remember what it is. But once you have the first 500, you will find that if on your own in your personal journey, you want to read something or know something, you will be able to not have to stop and look up every single word. That's why I teach the way I do, because I can just say, here, 1 day, here's the alphabet. 2, here's how to decode. Class 2, here's how to decode. Now you can read. Okay, you can, but it doesn't do you any good if haven't practiced your decoding skills. And then now the next thing is to build vocabulary as we learn, because otherwise you are literally just looking up every single word. And then that doesn't help anybody. If you're looking up every single word, that just takes a long time. Okay, so next class is Monday. With cold and flu season, I will check in with people often. If you have any questions, please get back to me. And I think that's it. So have a great day, and I will see you in the next session.